Hi guys, Will from Grizzly Audio here, and today I just wanted to take a look at the demo track I made for the new Quiet Raw release, which is our free version of the Origins library. So every sound in here is from the free version, and obviously it's also in the full version as well. It's a really short cue, only about 40 seconds long, and it's kind of aimed at sound design, teaser, trailer kind of cues. So let's take a listen, and then I'll jump into some of the individual elements. So that's the cue, pretty simple arrangement, and it's all sort of based off of this kind of rhythmic drone thing that adds some momentum and kind of slowly builds throughout. So if I just solo it from the beginning. So I'm actually just automating the cutoff of a filter I have on it, just using the free ladder filter. And I'm also automating something from Little Alter Boy, so I'm just automating the mix control. And I'm basically doing an octave pitch up, but with the formant set lower. So essentially this kind of acts as like a pulse, a drone, and a riser kind of all in one, because it's doing a sort of slow build right from the start up until the cutoff point here. So that builds throughout. We also introduce some pulse ticks around bar 4. So if I just add those into the drone. I like these ticks because they give a sort of sense of pace, but they're very narrow in their frequency range. They don't sort of tend to step on any other of the bits of sound design we've got going on. And then we're just using a few different sort of signature sounds and Brahm effects just to add our different accent points throughout the track. So I'm starting off with these string effects, which were like a new category we added to the library. So they got this kind of creepy horror vibe to them, and there's a different one that comes in on the next, after the next 4-bar sort of portion. And for the low end, we have these kind of friction Brahm sounds. They're very low, very subby, so if you're listening on a phone, you might not be picking too much of that out. But we're keeping a lot of our continuous elements pretty free in the sort of sub and bass region, so we've got plenty of space for these type of Brahms. Another nice way to get sort of more mileage out of a certain set of sounds or pack is to repurpose them. So this was a ping sound, but I basically just reversed it so it becomes a kind of suck back riser kind of sound. So reversing stuff's just a really kind of quick and simple way of repurposing a sound. Once we get into this sort of second half of the track, I bring in these accent sounds. Now this is the same sound on each track, but I basically just put 2 in, so it's almost like a false delay kind of thing. It just gave me a bit more control over the timing. But they sound like this. And then we bring in a few more little accents afterwards. I'll just solo all of those. So we've got these really aggressive kind of fast cello digs that are just picking out our half-bar accent points. And then at the end, I've got these ping sounds, and they're basically doubling what the percussion's doing. The percussion's mainly holding down the lows because it's kind of on these sort of kick sounds. So the pings kind of take up the highs. And again, this is just kind of repurposing a sound. So instead of it being a ping that you might use like, in an intro or something like that, it's just fun to use that as like a fast accent in the outro. So they sound like this. Pretty machine gunny and unnatural when it's soloed, but in context to the rest of the track, I think it works quite nicely as an accent. So I'm only doing them every other time that the percussion's doing it. And again, it's just adding a bit more interest to it. So the only other part of the track really is the percussion. So I've got some booms, and then I'm kind of using these heavy kicks sort of sounds to bring out the rhythmic accents. And then we have a few sort of whoosh bangs and whoosh sounds just to give a build into some of these hit points. So let's just take a listen to the percussion stuff. Starting off with some really low booms. So I'm sort of trying to let everything that's really low and subby only happen for quite a short amount of time. So the main rhythm is just on these kicks, which are kind of really thuddy but really short as well. And then every 2 bars we have this other kind of big heavy kick. So that's almost like a sort of bass guitar accent type thing. And then along with that, we just have some whoosh bang sounds and some whooshes on their own as well. So I'll let the whoosh sounds basically play quite long across the whole bar because there's not a lot of low end in them. And the last of it I've just sort of filtered out anyway. So I really want these main kick sounds to kind of punch through, so I'm just giving them as much space as possible. So I think the final sound's probably going to be just this riser that we have. It actually starts about halfway through the track, but it's kind of really low to start with. So it's slowly building, and I'm also doing some automation with the filter cutoff. And something else of which I quite like to do is just open up the width as we kind of get towards the end of the track. So when the riser starts, it's actually quite mono almost. I'm taking it down to about 30% of its width, and then at the end I think it goes back up to about 100. Yeah. So while it's low and subby, it's kind of staying in the center. And then as it opens up towards the end here, we're getting wider and also adding in some frequencies at the top as well. When I was putting the pack together, I tend to keep sounds like this without this sort of automation, because then you can kind of put it in yourself and actually make it fit the track you're doing, because everyone's going to want these little changes and curves to happen at different times. But that's pretty much it for this track. It's about 25 tracks, but there's lots of things that are only happening once. So really continuous elements, there's only 3 or 4. And then the rest are all just helping to accent certain points. And I've tried to sort of build that out further by adding in like little stops and stuff just before the final section here. Just a nice kind of cutout point. So yeah, I hope that was helpful to kind of see how the demo was put together. I'll add a link in the description for where you can get the free pack, which I'm showing here, and also the full version Origins, which now has about 145 sounds in it, so way more than the free one. But thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the Quiet Raw pack.